Microphone check with all the beeps and stuff. Hey guys, welcome back to Faster and Louder. Alright, so if you've been following along a little bit, you've probably seen that I have a Javelin AMX project that I've started to do some work on. We just recently took the 401 out. I'm starting to do some interior stuff. That's an ongoing project, which will eventually be one large video of me doing a lot of interior work. But while I'm in the process of doing that, I wanted to make a separate video on a different part that I'm restoring. So this Javelin that I got is kind of different to me. I'm still not entirely sure if my Javelin is a Go package or Go pack, whatever. That usually has 15-inch wheels. Damn. The Go package usually has 15-inch wheels. It has like a limited slip differential. It has like a few different options, and my car has some of those options, but not all of them, which is really weird. And one of those, I believe, is the Cowl Induction air cleaner. The Cowl Induction air cleaner on Javelin AMXs is extremely rare because not all of them had it. Like, you could have a Javelin AMX from pretty much any of those years, and that doesn't mean that you're going to have a Cowl Induction air cleaner and hood, a functional hood. From 71 to 73 only, they had functional cowl hoods, but not every cowl hood had the Cowl Induction air cleaner. Hopefully you're following what I'm saying. It's not really that important, but my car happens to be one of the few that has it. There's a source for AMC guys called Planet Houston AMX. It's run by this guy named Eddie Stakes, and I have used him for several years as he has just a database of knowledge. Like, if you go to his website, it looks like it's straight from like 1996 or something, but there's just a ton of knowledge on there, super useful. And on that page, he has a number. I don't know if it's an estimate or not. It's been a second since I actually looked at it, but I believe it's somewhere around like 3,000 Javelin AMXs had the Cowl Induction air cleaner setup. So super rare. I'm really glad I have it, but at the time of this video, there is no reproduction parts for it whatsoever. Like the little rubber thing that goes around it, the top of it, the bottom of it, nothing. There is no reproduction parts available for the Cowl Induction air cleaner. I have mine. It is in not the best shape. There's a lot of surface rust. The vacuum actuator is obviously shot just from sitting forever. It's just an overall pretty rough shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to clean it up as best I can, at least the rubber seal around it, and which I've actually done already, but I'll show that to you in a second. And I'm going to try to get all that scale off as best as I can, and I have some filler primer that I'm going to use, and I'm just going to kind of see how it works because I don't know how pitted the metal actually is, but I'm going to use the filler primer on it, kind of sand it down and see how smooth I can get it, and I'm going to paint it in my special paint scheme that I'm going with. So I'm actually in my Mazda right now to head to Ivan's house, and he has some air tools and stuff like that, and there's some things that need to be taken off of the air cleaner. Good Lord, there's some crazy trucks today. Quick bit of information. There's actually two different types of cowl air cleaner assemblies. So in 71, I believe it's 71 only, and it's probably, if I'm remembering this correctly, it's the early 401s. They had a dual snorkel design for the air cleaner. Mine is just a single snorkel, but for a short time they did have the dual snorkel. They're very expensive. I just saw one on eBay a couple weeks ago in pretty nice shape for $3,200. So they are not cheap. Even mine in its crusty condition that it's in right now, I would hazard to say you could sell for maybe $1,200, which is just insane to me. But it's super unique, and even though I'm going to be kind of limiting myself with the intake manifold that I chose, I think that it's just it's the way to go. Like, I feel bad not using the super cool Cowl Induction air cleaner. Like, how unique is that? Just walked into the really parts store, and got some back to black. This is for black trim, pretty much of any kind, but I'm going to be using it right now for the seal thing that goes around the air cleaner. Then I got this. It's a smaller wire brush. We use that for knocking off rust. And I got a 1/16 drill bit so I can get those rivets off of what's holding the vacuum actuator off. Okay, so here it is. This is the air cleaner I've been talking about. As you can see, it's nice and crusty and scaly. I'm going to try to take as much of that off as I possibly can with the air tool, so that way I have less to do with my hand. It's always good. So I'm going to take this off. I got some wire wheels and whatnot. I didn't realize I already had one of these in here. Got some gloves. You know, proper PPE is always important, right guys? And then I got the smaller one, so it is good I got this, because this is a little more this is gonna be better for smaller areas. So anyways, let's get started. And this is the air cleaner seal that I was talking about. It actually turned out pretty nice, just from a pretty basic clean. Not too bad at all.
Automatic center punch to dimple it.
That came out better than I expected. So this is the whole piece that's getting taken out.
Do we even know if this works?
I mean, it moves. I like when I mess with this too.
Let's see. Dude, this works.
Really?
It holds vacuum.
Wow.
It might actually be good.
It was trying to do something. Oh. Oh my god, it actually works. Wow. You saw it here first, guys. The vacuum actuator is 40 years old and it still works. Oh my god. That's actually very, very surprising. Well, I guess I gotta paint it up now. Alright, just finished the clean sanitary job of I don't know, whatever that was that I just did. Got rid of 90% of the rust. Well, I guess I got rid of all of it. It's just it left it pretty pitted in some spots. So I'm really banking on that high build primer on kind of smoothing that out a little bit. The worst spots, I mean, I'd say this one, the actual filter lid, was probably the most pitted, corroded one. Followed closely by the actual air cleaner top. I got about 85% of the way through this, and then the air compressor got hot. It just gave up. Doesn't want to do this shit anymore. But I got most of it loose here. I could probably just get the rest by hand, or if I'm feeling patient, I can actually wait. But getting there. Making some good progress on it. Okay, so after I got all the rust and everything off, I set up the air cleaner over here in my backyard and started getting it ready for some of this rust reversal stuff. It's actually this right here. It's a rust neutralizer. So I sprayed that down a couple times. Pretty much, I mean, it looks a little better. Looks like it kind of turned the rust into something I can actually put some paint on. It's a little darker, still not great. This looks a lot better. Looks a lot less brown and rust-like. So this is supposed to cure for 24 hours, so I'm hoping that this will be ready for me to primer tomorrow, and I can get the high temp, actually have high build primer I'm going to put on there, and then I'm going to paint it my special color, special secret color, and then hopefully we'll be good then. Alright, so I'm back to painting my air cleaner. I got some high build primer on there right now. Did a pretty bad job at it, honestly. It's a little windier out here than I'd like for spray painting. I got the bottom piece right here. You might not be able to really tell on the video, but it's really uneven the way that I sprayed it on here. But I think it'll be okay because I'm gonna end up wet sanding this anyways and getting it more even. This was really pitted and sprayed on really bumpy, really textured, but hopefully when I get ready to sand this later, it'll kind of smooth out a little bit and it'll be all right. Okay, so throughout the week I attempted to do some actual top coat on the air cleaner, make it look good. I used some filler primer and everything, and I was making decent progress. I had to do some wet sanding between coats to try to smooth it back out and everything, but I was really annoyed when I was putting some final coats, or what I thought was final coats of paint on the air cleaner, and it fell off of the little crappy zip tie hanger that I made for it, and it dented it and ruined the paint, or what paint was on there. So if you look, it fell right here, dented it pretty nicely. I was very annoyed, and I basically just stepped away from it and didn't look at it for a few days. It doesn't have a good coat on it anyway, so I didn't even paint this side of it yet, for this piece at least, and just coverage is really bad. I don't know what I thought I was doing, but it was pretty horrible. This is actually just factory grooves, like from where they actually like bent or formed this metal. So there's not a whole lot I can do about that, but I actually got some filler glaze that I'm just gonna put over the whole thing, because as you can see there's a lot of like pitting, and I don't really like the look of that very much. So I'm gonna try to get this looking better. It's really obvious on this piece right here. This is like for the top of the air cleaner. It's just really pitted and blech. Like this doesn't bother me so much like down in here at the bottom, But I mean, like the way that it sprayed on, just everything did not turn out very great. It was too windy. It's hot here, you know, it's like hovering around 100 degrees usually when I'm doing this. So if I'm like at the normal distance away from it, like the 8 or 10 inches like they recommend, it's actually, with the wind and the heat, it's drying before it even touches here. So that's why you see like this build-up look right here, stuff like that. I was trying to smooth this out, and this is actually smoothed down from what I started with. It just still looks like crap. So I'm gonna get a new wire wheel set. I'm just gonna bring all this back down pretty good, and then I'm gonna use the glaze and try to get it smoother, and then I'm gonna just start the whole process all over again, and probably in the meantime try to figure out a way to hang this better so I can get better paint coverage on it, because that just wasn't working. So this is pretty much the setup right here. I just have a power drill here. I'm going to be using this instead of a air tool this time, which in my opinion was arguably the same. I got a little trigger thing because I'm tired of my hand cramping up after approximately 5 minutes of doing this. So I'm going to put this somewhere. But I figured it makes more sense really to try to paint here, at least on more intricate stuff like this that's less forgiving, because there's really not any wind flow or anything here. And that's kind of what I'm trying to avoid, is the issues that I had last time where the air is blowing around all over the place. And I mean, here I have, this is my ventilation. I got a couple fans on high. So I've been fighting myself quite a bit on this stuff over here. I started a little bit on this and I'm just like completely out of motivation. There's just something about completely stripping this one time and then painting pretty much the entire thing over the course of 3 days and then stripping it again that does something to your motivation. So I'm really not in the mood to be stripping this by hand all over again. So I'm hoping that I can find somebody that can just help me sandblast this thing, because I do not have the motivation to go through this all over again. I just can't live with that, you know? Well, wish me luck. So after kind of rage quitting there, with my last attempt at getting the air cleaner painted and everything, I was starting to use the wire brush again to get the paint off, which seemed a little aggressive. So that's why I started with the air cleaner lid, because it's not really seen as often and it was pretty much the most messed up piece anyways. So after that though, I kind of decided that I was going to go a different route and just have somebody sandblast it for me, since I don't have a sandblaster. But I also had them go ahead and do the oil pan. As you can see, there's definitely some pitting in it and everything. They actually got it somewhat smooth. At least the surface now is all even. And it's pretty much the same for the air cleaner. It definitely has a lot of that original pitting that I saw before, but it looks like it's all evened out a little more with the sandblasting. So I'm really hoping this time I can use the high build primer and it'll just kind of fill it and just even it out. So I'm gonna try the first round on the oil pan, so that way if it doesn't look great, then I'll know that it still won't look good, and I'll have to do the glazing as I was talking about doing anyways. So let's just give this a shot and see what happens. All right, I think this is like day 3 or something. I've been sanding on that oil pan for a long time, and it's been a learning process. I started out way too fine at like 400 grit. I moved down to 320. Still wasn't really doing what I wanted to do, which is cut it, make it nice and flat, and then I can start smoothing it down after that. But it was just getting built up too quick because it's too fine. So I went down to 220, and that's a lot closer to what I was wanting in the first place, except the problem is I actually took off a little too much primer from the beginning, messing around with a different grit that wasn't right. But I do have it a lot better now. It's not perfect, but I just washed it real quick. There's definitely some texture going on, especially here in that groove that's really hard to get to. But overall, it's definitely way smoother, and a lot of that pitting is filled in. So I got that filled out, letting this dry right now. I think I'm gonna hit it with paint and just kind of see what happens. I actually went over it again with 320 really quick. I'm not super picky on this. I'll definitely spend more time on the air cleaner parts, which I'm starting right now. I just threw on a quick coat right here. Went on a little bit thicker than I wanted to for the first coat, but I'm gonna put a lot of layers on it. I've learned that if you want to have a fillable primer base that you can actually sand down, you want to have a lot of this high build primer on there, and then put the black on top so you kind of know where you're at when you start sanding it down. But I'm gonna do quite a few coats on this, probably more than I should, just to make sure I have enough material to work with to smooth it out. So that's where I'm at right now. Another thing that I did was I turned on the swamp cooler here, which should drop it down in temperature a little bit, and then also give some humidity, which will let my paint stay wet before it actually hits the surface, which is what I'm looking for. So I did that. I have a little bit of ventilation here, kind of something I cobbled together, but it seems to be doing pretty well. Oh, and another trick that I tried, I'll let you know how this actually works, but I'm trying to put the cans in my little mini fridge, and I'm letting it cool off for a little bit, like drop it down in temperature. Now, not really cold, but like drop it down a little bit in temperature, in hopes that that'll also help the paint stay wet before it actually hits the surface. All right, so now that the oil pan is dried up a little bit, I wiped it down with some surface prep stuff, and I did a couple light coats on it, and this is what it looks like so far. There's definitely a lot of pitting here in the bottom still. It looks slightly better on the top where it's a little more smooth. I spent a little more time trying to get rid of the pitting. I know it still looks like crap, but you know what? It's my piece of crap, and I'm happy about that. I have a question. If it looks like a Milodon pan, but it's not a Milodon pan, does that mean it's a Milodont? All right, so I have this thing is painted. I'm basically just trying to get all these to the primered state right here, and then once everything is primer, I'll start doing the sanding and getting it nice and smooth and try to get it untextured. The oil pan was kind of just like a test to see what I might have to do in order to get it to the point where I really want it, and I learned a lot doing that, so it's probably gonna look okay. Okay, small update. This is the top flap thingy that I just got done priming. I just got the master cylinder for the brakes. I'm probably gonna go over this again. I actually dropped it on the table when I was painting it, and I need to get this off. So one thing that I've actually been struggling with a little bit is trying to mount these pieces in a way where I can get the paint on it in more of a straightforward type of way to actually get it to lay on there right, and well, you know, just basically do it right. And this is the best I can come up with right now. I just have my jack stands. This isn't painted yet, so I guess if I want to be a little more careful, I could put a rag under here too. But anyways, what I'm trying to do is just do it by section. I still need to wipe this down and everything, but I'm trying to do it by section. So I'm probably gonna try to shoot the whole inside here first, and then I'm gonna do maybe this top piece, and then just kind of go around and do this whole section right here. And then I'm gonna let that dry for probably at least like an hour or two, to where I can flip this whole thing over and it won't mess up the paint that I just put on. So then I can do the bottom part of here, the snorkel, whatever you want to call it, and I can do the bottom of the actual air cleaner over here. So I'm kind of doing it that way. I can't really figure out any better way to do it. I don't have like specific ways to hang it or anything. There's really nothing to hang it from. The ceilings are pretty high in here. I could probably rig up something over there, but ventilation's not as good, so I'm kind of just doing the best I can, you know. Obviously, this is my ventilation system, And I'm trying to make it as cool as possible in here, but all I have is the swamp cooler, and I got a thermostat right now. And as you can see, it's pretty damn hot. Relative humidity is 43%, but it's still over 90. I'd like to be able to drop this down under 90 degrees if possible, but of course we're having a stretch of heat again, like high heat. So I think it's supposed to get to like 110 today. So usually it's like 15 degrees cooler in here than it is outside. It's not 110 yet, but I just turned on the swamp cooler like 5 minutes ago. So I'm hoping I can drop that below 90 and try to get the high build primer on before it gets too hot. I'm using some prep spray for bare metal, and I'm just wiping it down and trying to get like any residue that might be on there. I'm just using a microfiber towel to wipe it off. This is what I was using. It's just a prep spray, but I just ran out of that, and now I have some multi-purpose foaming cleaner, which pretty much does the same thing. Maybe not as well, but it's better than nothing. So this stuff kind of just foams up. I've pretty much just determined that, you know, if you let this sit for a little bit before wiping it up, it'll kind of pick up some of the contaminants, and it'll work best for you then. Okay, now that I got this all wiped down and clean and everything, I'm just gonna let it sit for a little bit, make sure that it's dried. There's little pores and stuff, especially now that it's been media blasted. You can see a little bit of dampness right there. I'm just gonna kind of let it sit for a little bit. I'm sure there's some up in there too. Make sure it's all dry. Then I'll spray it with the high build primer. All right, now we're getting on to the sanding part. So I got these pieces here. These are going to be gold. There's a little couple spots I'm going to sand down, get it right, but I'm going to get these sanded down. Hopefully this won't take me a super long time like it did the first time, because I picked up a little bit of knowledge in the meantime. So let's put that to use. Oh, I am so tired. I've been here for I think like 6 hours or something. I finally got everything painted up. Looks pretty good. Way better than it did before. I got other stuff sitting over here. Kind of limited on counter space at the moment. But I got this all done. This is still drying, so I'm not really going to touch it. Painted both sides. I wanted to do it right. This part, it's still a little bit tacky as far as drying goes, but this is the worst piece for pitting, but you don't see that ever unless you take this off, so I'm okay with that. Oil pan, I didn't really put a whole ton of effort into getting pitting out, so it's still got a lot, but it looks good. Painted my master cylinder because why not? But yeah, that's pretty much everything. There's one little piece though I have to do before I conclude this video, so I'm gonna wait on that to arrive, and then this video will be resolved. So this has been a huge process. This whole thing is it's taken a lot longer than I thought it would take, which seems to be pretty much the theme with a lot of these little projects. But above anything, it was a huge learning experience for me. I got to kind of understand a little bit more about how primer works, about how paint works, especially coming out of a can. Sandpaper, that was a big one. I thought that I had a basic understanding of sandpaper and different grits and everything. Turns out I was pretty wrong. Temperature for painting, like the list goes on, but I'm really happy I went through the process. After I dropped the air cleaner on the ground, that was pretty disappointing and made me want to give up. But instead of being you know, pissed off about it, I tried to think of like a better way to approach everything. That's when I decided to get it sandblasted, and I'm really glad I did that. It ended up being better than what I could have done by myself with the wire brush and all that stuff. Turned out really good. I'm happy with the results. And here it is, guys. This is the completed piece right here. I decided, I already went over this, but I decided to only go gold on the top, and I'm actually happy that I did that. I think it would have been just a little bit too much gold. And I got the 401 sticker on there. I'm not even sure if that's technically the correct one or whatever, but you know, it's like most other things on this car, I just don't really care. A lot of it is me trying to keep it original, but also make it nicer and put in my own little personal touches at the same time. And I think that's what everybody should do. Everyone should try to learn a couple things with their build and see what they can do. You might be pleasantly surprised. I know that I was surprised with my own ability a little bit on this. I'm really glad that I did this to learn a couple things. Super happy with the end result. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you like this video. Catch you on the other side. I just saw one on eBay a couple weeks ago in pretty nice shape for $3,200. For $3,200.